quick sip of coffee. Right. Hello everyone, welcome back to YouTube. I hope you're enjoying your week so far. I certainly am. I've got back into doing this video stuff, so I hope you enjoy the video, and if you do, make sure you let me know in the comments below. Do all that spiel, you know, subscribe and all that rubbish. Give it a like. Smash that like button, guys. Anyway, today we're talking about the Tier 10 Venezia, the Italian cruiser of epic proportions. It has 15 203mm guns, and at the moment it is like one of my favorite Tier 10 ships to play. Let's just say it is fast, accurate, fun, powerful. It can tank. It's kind of got it all, but has some drawbacks when it comes to being fired at some times. Let's just get into some of the statistics. It has 15 203mm guns, or 8 inches. It has sap and armor piercing. Sap is pretty much excellent for everything. If you come up against a DD, even if it's long range, try and put a few shells at it, because the sap alpha on these rounds is just insane. It does 5.2 thousand damage, which is amazing, especially when you come up against DD. In the background, you're going to see many clips of me. You'll see some examples, basically. I come up against a shimmer at close range, take 11,000 damage off of him, no problem whatsoever. This stuff is also good against cruisers and battleships as well. You don't really have to worry. All you have to aim at when it comes to battleships is the fore-end plating, or the bow, or the superstructure. If you hit the belt plating, you're liable to shatter more often, but you can still do tons of damage. It does do very well against Russian ships. You can fire at the Kremlin. If you get a very good volley, you can still do 14 to 15,000 damage per volley. Sometimes the shells will go a bit wonky and you won't get as many hits, but for the majority, they are very, very accurate. Now, the armor piercing, it is very good. It has an alpha of 4,700 damage, which is less than the sap, you might note, which basically means you don't. It's more of a round to use when you have that broadside target of a cruiser and you just so happen to have it loaded. My captain has expert loader on it, which for the special captain, Luigi Sansonetti, reduces your reload when you're fully reload at that point by 75%. So if you have your rounds reloaded and you want to quickly change to the next one, it can reduce your reload by 75%, which is amazing. Right, moving on to the HP and the armor scheme. Now, the HP is kind of average when it comes to cruisers of this tier. It has 51,800 health. Now, let's just look at another cruiser of the sort. It blasts past the Zao, which has 40,000 damage. Obviously, things like the Moskva and the Stalingrad have a stupid amount of health. But on the same lines as like normal cruisers, like is on average with the Hindenburg. The Zao's quite low, as you know. The Yoshino is under that by about 10,000, but that is a super cruiser. It does beat out the Des Moines, but only by 1,000 health as well. Now, what I really want to talk about is its armor scheme, because it's quite interesting. Compared to other ships, it has an extended armor belt right up to the tip of the bow. It hits 40mm thick at waterline, so that means if you angle correctly in a battleship like Yamato, for example, which can overpen its fore-end plating of 25mm, if you angle correctly and they try and dip the shots into the waterline, they'll actually bounce, because a Yamato cannot overmatch 40mm of armor. Even the Ishima, which I found out the other day, is overmatches 36mm of armor, so you can actually get some dodgy pens on bounces even with that. And the belt armor itself is also 40mm, so it goes from stern to bow, 40mm all the way along. Your upper belt plating is around 30mm. But the thing that interests me is when you get rid of that torpedo belt and armor belt. There isn't really a torpedo belt. There is no torpedo belt. Let's just say that. There is actually spaced armor. So sometimes when you're broadside on, a cruiser can penetrate your outside armor, but then going through that spaced armor can stop you from getting citadeled, especially at long ranges. At very long ranges, though, they can come over the top and go through. They have to go through armor, deck armor, and a whole casement. But if it's a battleship, they can do it. Cruisers, depends on what angle they're going for. But once they get through that 40mm plating, they have to go through this spaced armor, and then through another 165mm of citadel armor. So this ship is actually deceivingly tanky. You think it's just going to be another cruiser, but it's not. It's very well armored for what you're getting. Because, let's just say, the Moskva, yes, it does have that fore-end plating, the belt armor of 50mm, but its citadel armor is right on the outside of the ship, so you get on the side of it and you can absolutely wreck it with armor piercing. Like, but when it comes to the Venezia, you've got that spaced armor and that extra 40mm of armor, so you could kind of get away with it sometimes. I would say that the maneuverability of the thing, it does have a kind of quick rudder shift of 9.3 seconds, compared to the Hindenburg's like 12.1 seconds. But it kind of can feel sluggish at times, especially if you've slowed down a bit. If you want to duke some shells and it wants to turn, it can be quite slow. But if you get that angle, then it's really hard for them to pen. The only problem I have with the armor scheme is that fore-end plating of 25mm. If let's say a Yamato pens that, they can get through the citadel armor of the front of your ship, but they kind of have to get a lucky shot because the citadel armor is kind of small, just under the barbette. It's rather tiny, but you can get citadeled that way. And you can get citadeled from the side if it's a battleship. Like, it does happen. Just try and angle as much as you can because its armor does come in handy quite often. Right, I want to talk about its AA a little bit now, because if you go onto its stats, go onto its AA defense, you'll see that it only has a 4.6 max kilometer, 4.6 kilometer max AA range, which doesn't seem that good when you think about the Russians, which have a 6.6, the Russians that have a 6.6 kilometer range, and then the Des Moines has a 5.8 kilometer range. The Zhao has a 5.8, I'm pretty sure. Yep, 5.8 as well. The Hindenburg has 5.2. So it's being outclassed in range by everything. But it's just got mid-range and long range, and those are from 0.1 to 0.4. It does a lot of damage. The AA is short-ranged, but it bloody hell, if you came close to it with a carrier, it just annihilates planes, or at least damages them. There's a good chance that a carrier is going to get through one strike, but they're only going to get one through, because by the time they've turned around, you've pretty much decimated their whole squadron. At least to a point where they're either yellow or red, and in their next strike they might get shot down. When it comes to planes like that on the midway, you might take a couple, because those planes, where they are not all that tanky, it's kind of that mid-range, they do have a lot of planes in a squadron, so they might get 2 or 3 through, but you will end up shooting the whole squadron down eventually. The same goes for the Brindisi at tier 9. It has kind of the same AA. Let's talk about its torpedoes. They're really fun, basically. They are really slow for tier 10. They do 56 knots, which, when you think about it, you think, oh, that's a bit rubbish. Like, what are they going to do? But they have a 13.5 kilometer range. So, there's 3 per side. They reload really quickly. Let's have a quick look. They reload in 71 seconds, so just over a minute, even less than a minute when you've been damaged. And how I use them, you don't use them offensively, really. You kind of, if ships are coming towards you, you just kind of spam one out from one side, then spam one out from the other side in general direction of where you think they might end up going in about 2 minutes, because it will take 2 minutes for your torpedoes to get there. And it can catch people out. People don't expect them to come, because people know this has torpedoes, but no one expects you to use them. So if you just spam them out in a direction, you might get hit. There's a little bit of skill in using them. You have to kind of predict 2 minutes into the future of where your opponent's going to be. But I do really like these torpedoes. They're just good. It's kind of like the Yoshino's 20-kilometer torpedoes. You don't use them offensively. You just kind of point them off in a random cap and hope they hit something. Like a battleship might randomly stumble into them if it hasn't been detected by Hydro, because no one expects 20-kilometer torpedoes just to come out of nowhere. You can't really predict them. Going back to the guns, I do have to point out that I run the reload mod, so it gets my reload down to 17.6 seconds. So that does mean my range is only 17.1 kilometers, which isn't very good. When you consider the Stalingrad, I know it's a not a very fair comparison, but the Stalingrad 23.6, the Hindenburg 20.7, the Zau 18.8, it has a kilometer on you, the Moskva 22.6, the Des Moines is only at 15.8, but you do get in much closer, and you have you can have a spotting plane if you don't want radar. Even the Slomensk can go out to 19 kilometers if you spec for it. Now, if you do spec for range, it can go up to 19.9, which is entirely respectable, but I really enjoy having that extra reload. It's just, and because of your tank ability, you can get in closer, you can kind of get away with it, so the range doesn't matter too much. Plus, you can take a spotting plane, which does put your range out to, what, 21 kilometers? And that lasts for a good 2 minutes. So you can boost your range, and it's not really necessary for you to take the range mod. But it's really preference, because the rounds are really, really fast in this ship. The SAP goes 950, so they're really easy to aim. So if you wanted to go for the range mod, that's fine. I choose the reload mod because I like the extra damage output, and I tend to like to get closer in because it's fun. I also run, as I said before, Luigi Sansonetti, which has a special skill. When you get a kill in the ship, it increases your range by 1 kilometer, so that will put it up to 18.1. So usually I do get a kill per game. So in the later stages of the game, if you have got one kill, that extra little bit of range, along with the faster reload, especially if you've taken damage with Adrenaline Rush, it really does make you a force to be reckoned with. Along with the spotting plane as well, you can get your range out to 22 point something. So it's very versatile, and you can get that range out there. You don't really need the range, but that's why I like the reload. This ship is fast. Now, it's not the fastest in the game. The Henri does 43 knots with the speed flag and the speed boost on. It hasn't got the best base speed, which is 36.8, but the Venezia has a 38.4 knot speed, which this is with a flag, by the way, which is just mad. It's really quick, especially with that full speed smoke you can get, which is a trait of the Italian line. It has this exhaust smoke generator, which means you can stay within your smoke while going full speed. It's completely unique to the line. So that basically means you can go 38 knots in a smoke screen without being detected. And that is mad. It can come in so handy, and that adds to its tank ability. Because if you find yourself in a tricky spot and you want to bug out, turn around, you just hit the smoke screen. Make sure you haven't fired, because it has a 9.9 kilometer detection when it fires from smoke. So stop firing, hit that smoke button, get your ass out of there, and then you're alright, because this thing does 38 knots, as I said, so you get out of the fight quite quickly. I hope this has been interesting to you. I absolutely love this ship because it's fast, it's tanky, high damage output, and most importantly, I find it very fun to play. This has been a really good addition to the game, I think. It adds a new level of punch into the meta. My friend has been playing it in clan battles. He says he's been like eating Kremlins alive, which is always fun to hear. Like, you just want to kick him in the teeth sometimes. And it's just a well-rounded ship, in my opinion. Fast, tanky, you know. So let me know what you think of the Venezia, if you've got it, if you want it, if you like it. I can give you tips if you want. Just let me know in the comments below. I hope you've enjoyed this video, and I hope to see you in the next one. Goodbye.